You know, I don't think so. I've got some things I've been wanting to do for a while, and we've been building cars. We've been really busy. There's definitely a different direction I want to go, and here I just can't do both.
For years, the rumors kept going around like wildfire. Rumors about what really happened behind the scenes of Fast and Loud, and why Aaron Kaufman walked away when everything seemed perfect. Now, at 44, Aaron is finally breaking his silence about his time on Fast and Loud, and what he confirms will leave fans wondering how much they never knew.
So that's one of the things I want to talk about the vacation, and maybe extending it a little bit further.
What?
Had some time off, and I think I've got some other things, some other cats I want to skin, some other things I want to get into.
Why did Aaron Kaufman really walk away from Fast and Loud at the height of its success? And what truth has he been holding back all these years? Join us as we uncover what Aaron Kaufman has finally confirmed and why it changes everything fans thought they knew.
So I'm talking to Daphne about my cars, and in walks Aaron, and I'm like, God, he's back. What'd you do, man?
Well, I basically just worked at the house.
The man behind the myth. Before Fast and Loud made him a household name, Aaron Kaufman was just a guy from Texas who loved cars. Born in 1982, he grew up in the kind of middle American household where people learned how things worked by taking them apart in the driveway. Cars were never just machines to Aaron. They were puzzles, and he had an almost unnatural talent for solving them. By his early 20s, he was already the kind of mechanic that other mechanics called when they were stuck. He joined Richard Rawlings at Gas Monkey Garage in the mid-20s, years before any camera ever pointed in their direction. The two men had a working relationship that was built on trust and complementary skills. Rawlings was the deal-maker, the talker, the man who could look at a rusted-out shell in a stranger's backyard and see a television moment. Kaufman was the craftsman, the one who made the fantasy real. Without Rawlings, there was no deal, and without Kaufman, there was no car. When Discovery Channel came knocking in 2012 with the concept for Fast and Loud, Kaufman became the engine of the show's success. Viewers loved him immediately, not because he was flashy or loud, but because he was the opposite of flashy and loud. He was real. He spoke only when he had something worth saying. He worked with his hands in a way that made people believe he could build anything. And in a genre of television overflowing with manufactured drama and scripted arguments, Aaron Kaufman felt like the one guy who was actually just trying to get the job done. That authenticity made him loved. Fan communities on Reddit and automotive forums treated him like a folk hero. But the thing about folk heroes is that when they disappear, people start telling stories to explain the silence. And the stories people told about Aaron Kaufman got very dark, very fast. The truth, as it turns out, was both simpler and more emotional than any of the rumors suggested. Fast and Loud premiered in June 2012 and became one of the highest-rated shows on Discovery Channel almost immediately. The formula was perfect for the moment. Fast cars, big personalities, tight deadlines, and the thrill of watching something wrecked become something beautiful. Richard Rawlings was built for television. He had a gift for making every deal feel like the climax of a movie. Aaron Kaufman was the opposite in almost every way, and somehow that made him the one fans couldn't stop talking about. Inside the garage, Kaufman was reportedly comfortable. He was doing work he loved, surrounded by engines and problems he could solve. But outside the garage, fame was doing something to him that he hadn't budgeted for emotionally. The autograph requests, the fan conventions, the pressure to be Aaron from Fast and Loud at every public moment. So when the cameras kept rolling and the fame kept growing, was the pressure already pushing Aaron Kaufman toward a breaking point? And by the time the grind of Fast and Loud intensified behind the scenes, had the exit everyone would later call shocking already become inevitable? The departure that stunned everyone. The show's production schedule also intensified over the years. What started as a relatively manageable filming pace reportedly became a relentless grind by seasons 4 and 5. Kaufman was not just building cars on television. He was managing a real, functioning shop that had to serve real clients while simultaneously producing television content. The garage never stopped. Allegedly, there were weeks where he was working 18-hour days, and the emotional pressure of keeping a business alive while cameras captured every moment of stress took a toll that wasn't visible on screen. And then there was Richard Rawlings. The two men were genuinely close, that much was always clear, but closeness under the pressure of a television production was not the same as closeness in the real world. Allegedly, disagreements about the direction of the shop, the type of builds being selected for the show, and the balance between television spectacle and genuine craftsmanship had begun to create friction. At first, it was nothing explosive or dramatic enough for the cameras to catch. Just the slow grinding of two very different temperaments against each other under impossible pressure. In 2016, after 4 years and multiple seasons of Fast and Loud, Aaron Kaufman left the show. There was no dramatic on-screen goodbye or tearful final episode where the garage gathered around to see him off. Discovery Channel and the production team handled his departure with the type of professionalism that usually signals something complicated happened behind closed doors, and the internet immediately went to work, filling in the blanks. The speculation surrounding Kaufman's departure was intense and weird. Some fans theorized that he was fired due to a heated dispute with Rawlings regarding financial disparities, particularly the claim that Rawlings was earning significantly more per episode than Kaufman, who was the one actually crafting the cars. Others believed that their relationship had soured on a personal level, involving issues of trust and loyalty that could not be mended. Additionally, some darker narratives circulated online, suggesting hidden, substance-related problems, claims that Kaufman firmly rejected and that lacked credible evidence. The actual truth, as Kaufman eventually explained in interviews after his departure, was more personal, deep, and honest than any of the rumors. He left because he was unhappy, not because of one dramatic event, but because of the slow accumulation of a life he had not chosen. He said in one interview that he had started to feel like he was building cars for television rather than building television around cars, and that when you lose that distinction, you have lost the thing that made the work meaningful in the first place. It was a very deep statement. It was also one of the most honest things anyone has ever said about the machinery of reality television. Richard Rawlings, for his part, handled the departure publicly, which was true to his nature. He spoke warmly about Kaufman in interviews, wished him well, and moved the show forward. Whether that warmth was genuine or strategic is something only the two men know for certain. But what's clear is that the departure created a hole in Fast and Loud that the show never quite figured out how to fill. What Kaufman did next was something that very few people who walk away from fame ever actually do. He went and built something completely on his own terms, and what he built told the world everything they needed to know about who he really was. Building a new life from scratch. After leaving Gas Monkey Garage, Aaron Kaufman did something that nobody in his position typically does. He disappeared, not permanently, not into some spiral of post-fame depression that the tabloids could write about. He just went quiet and went to work. He founded Arclight Fabrication in Garland, Texas, a custom fabrication shop that had none of the television glamour of Gas Monkey and all of the craftsmanship that had made him famous, with no cameras or deadlines designed for dramatic effect. In 2018, Discovery Channel aired Shifting Gears with Aaron Kaufman, a series that felt fundamentally different from Fast and Loud. The projects were more ambitious technically, the pace was less frantic, and the focus was squarely on the craft rather than the deal. Kaufman was still the same man with the same quiet competence, but you could see in the way he moved through the new show that something had been restored in him. He looked like a man who had taken his life back. The show received strong reviews from automotive enthusiasts who appreciated the slower, more detailed approach to car building. It wasn't fast and loud. It was not trying to be. It was something quieter and more patient, which meant it found a smaller but more devoted audience. Kaufman seemed genuinely at peace with that trade-off. He has said in multiple interviews that he would rather do meaningful work for a smaller audience than spectacular work for a massive one. His personal life during this period also stabilized in ways that mattered deeply to him. He had long been private about his relationships, but by his early 40s, he appeared by all accounts to be a man who had figured out the balance between his professional ambitions and the life he wanted to live outside the garage. He talked in interviews about slowing down, about the importance of space and time, and about not letting the next project consume the present moment. These were not the words of a man broken by fame. They were the words of a man who had learned something hard and came out the other side with real wisdom. But even as Kaufman was quietly rebuilding, the rumors about what had really happened at Gas Monkey had never fully gone away. And at 44, something shifted. Aaron Kaufman started talking, really talking, in a way he never had before. The rumors he finally confirmed. For years, Aaron Kaufman had kept his answers short, and his explanations general whenever reporters asked him about leaving Fast and Loud. He was polite. He was diplomatic. He never threw Richard Rawlings under the bus, never gave the tabloids the explosive quote they were clearly fishing for. But somewhere around his early 40s, something changed in the way he communicated about his past, and fans who had followed him closely started to notice that his answers were becoming more specific, more honest, and more revealing than they had ever been before. In a candid podcast interview that circulated widely among Fast and Loud fan communities, Kaufman allegedly confirmed what many had long suspected, that the financial arrangement behind the show had not always felt equitable to the people doing the actual work. He did not name specific figures. He did not accuse anyone of fraud or theft. But he made it clear that in a show where the craftsmanship was supposedly the product, the craftsman was not always compensated as if that were true. It was a quiet confirmation that hit louder than a shouted accusation. He also allegedly confirmed, in more indirect language, that the creative direction of Fast and Loud had been a genuine source of frustration. There were builds he wanted to do that never made it to air because they were deemed not dramatic enough for television. There were projects where the timeline shown on screen bore very little resemblance to the actual timeline in the garage. He understood why. Television has its own rules and its own logic, but understanding something and being at peace with it are not the same thing. What he confirmed most clearly, though, was something that required no allegations and no inside sources to verify, because he said it directly. He had not been happy. Not for a long time before he finally left. He had stayed longer than he should have out of loyalty to the relationships he had built, and because walking away from something that big is terrifying, even when you know it's right. That kind of honesty, from a man who had spent years being guarded, landed differently. It felt like something real, and the confirmation that got the most attention, the one that spread fastest across social media, wasn't about money or creative control at all. It was personal, and it changed the way a lot of fans understood the story they thought they already knew. The relationship revelation. Aaron Kaufman has always been very private about his personal life. During the years he was on Fast and Loud, Richard Rawlings was openly living his marriage to Suzanne Rawlings, which was shown on camera and eventually ended in divorce. In contrast, Kaufman kept his personal life mostly hidden from view. Fans were aware that he was in a relationship. They even knew the name of his partner, because she sometimes appeared in the background of his social media pictures. However, Kaufman never included her in the main story of the show, and the producers never pressured him to do so. He preferred to keep that part of his life separate and out of the spotlight. After leaving the show, Kaufman's relationship became a subject of significant fan speculation. Some alleged that his departure had been partly motivated by personal circumstances, that the life being documented on television had put genuine strain on his relationship, and that protecting what mattered most to him privately had required removing himself from the public eye professionally. These allegations were never confirmed at the time, but they circulated persistently in fan communities who had long sensed that Kaufman was protecting something important. At 44, Kaufman has become significantly more open about the profound role that his personal life played in his decision to leave the show and in the specific kind of work he has chosen to pursue since that pivotal moment. He has articulated the importance of being present, genuinely present, for the people who matter most to him, emphasizing how the relentless demands of producing a major television show made that kind of meaningful presence nearly impossible to achieve. He has expressed, in language that was unequivocal and clear, that he made a conscious choice to prioritize his life and personal relationships over his career, and he has never once regretted making that deeply personal choice. This revelation has resonated with many, as it highlights the struggle between professional obligations and personal fulfillment. For fans who had spent years wondering why a man at the height of his fame would walk away from it, this explanation landed with the quiet force of something obviously true. It wasn't a conspiracy. It wasn't a scandal. It was just a man who had figured out what he valued and had made a hard choice to protect it. In a media environment that rewards self-destruction and punishes dignity, there was something almost radical about the simplicity of his answer. But there is one more layer to the Aaron Kaufman story, one that goes beyond the garage and the cameras and the rumors, and it speaks to something much larger about what happens to the people who build our favorite television shows and what the industry owes them when the cameras finally stop rolling. The legacy of a man who walked away with his dignity. The automotive television landscape is littered with the wreckage of people who chased fame too hard or held on too long. The genre has produced genuine celebrities who flamed out in public, people whose post-show lives became cautionary tales rather than second acts. Aaron Kaufman is not one of those people. His story is different, and the difference matters. Kaufman walked away from Fast and Loud and built something smaller and better, and more authentically his own. ArcLight Fabrication has, by all accounts, become a respected operation in the custom car world, the kind of shop that serious builders know about and serious clients seek out. It is not famous in the way Gas Monkey Garage is famous. You cannot buy a Gas Monkey energy drink at a truck stop in Iowa. But fame was never what Aaron Kaufman was after, and its absence does not represent failure. It represents a choice made with open eyes. His relationship with Richard Rawlings is still good, according to both of them, even though they are not very close anymore. They do not have any public arguments or fights. There are no hidden messages on social media or in interviews that hint at any bad feelings. These two men created something important together, but chose to go their own ways. They have both been respectful enough to let that be the end of their story. In a business that often benefits from ongoing drama and conflict, their choice to simply move forward without any issues is a quiet success in itself. At 44 years old, Aaron Kaufman appears to be a man who is truly happy with the life he has created for himself. He shares posts about cars and his projects and occasionally gives a peek into his life beyond the garage. He does not act like he is content just for show. He doesn't try to sell his calmness on social media like some people do, who may not actually feel calm inside. Instead, he comes across as someone who made a tough choice at the right time and has spent the years since then quietly and consistently confirming that it was indeed the right choice for him. The rumors have been proven true. The story is straightforward. A skilled man cared more about his work than about being famous. He valued his life more than his job and had the bravery to follow that order of importance when the time came. This is the truth that Aaron Kaufman has been sharing, one honest response at a time, for almost 10 years. In the end, it seems that this truth was worth the wait. Do you think Aaron Kaufman was a man who was pushed out, or a man who chose to walk away? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.